So I moved to Nashville in 1995. I really wanted to work with a guy named Michael W. Smith. He was kind of my musical mentor. He kind of had his start in the Christian pop genre, and I actually ended up working for him. Moved here, and 5 months later, he called. I'd been sending demos and resumes to his office. So my first tour was the keyboard tech position for Michael. So that just kind of evolved. I became his keyboard player a year later, and that was 23 years ago. And so I spend about a third of the year, maybe, on an average year, working for him as his musical director. I've produced a couple records for him. And then the other 2/3 of the year, I work here doing film music, arranging, composing, doing original music for film, TV, all that kind of stuff. And so whatever keeps the phone ringing these days. The fun thing about Michael is, people hear the word Christian music and they probably have preconceptions, but Michael is a really good pop songwriter. I would classify him as a pop artist more than anything. It just so happens that the music he does is inspiring and is very message oriented, which is why I've loved working with him for 23 years. We think very similarly in what we like, but the other 2/3 of the year, I get to do anything I want. And about, I guess it's 3 years ago now, I stepped away from everything else other than working with Michael to finally pursue a dream project of my own. And it was basically a big, epic, cinematic album, all instrumental. And did a Kickstarter project, hired a live orchestra, and the best session players, I think, in the world. Nashville's talent pool is off the charts. And the guys that I used have played on household name albums. I just finished an album that took a year for an artist named Paul Cardall, who's huge in his market. He does, I guess he's classified as classical crossover. So he wanted to create a Christmas album that, unlike his normal stuff, which is just piano, he wanted to do this big, epic, cinematic thing. And then in between all that, I'm always working on music for licensing and commercials and that kind of stuff. So it's been fun. I don't know how normal that is to be all over the map like that, but it works for me because I think I have a short attention span. So about a year ago, I saw the S series had come out, and when I had a break in my schedule, I started going to every place I could find, listening to every high-end speaker I could find. So I brought home brand after brand and all the big stuff. And then I have my torture test playlist that there's a bunch of tracks I'm really familiar with that there are extremely minute details that some speakers can resolve and some can't. Like, for example, there's a John Williams score, Peter Pan, I think, or Hook. There's a moment in one of those pieces where there's a little celeste line, and it's so buried in the mix, but I need to be able to hear that kind of stuff because that's what I do all day long. And on every other speaker I've tried, you can hear 2 of the 3 notes, but on the S3H you can hear all of them. And when I heard stuff like that, and then there's 20 or 30 tracks, I would go and listen to all these little details, and that sealed the deal for me. In this industry, there's no such thing as a short work day. Especially towards the end of a project, I'm working sometimes, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, especially on film projects. And so, yeah, that's a big deal. You don't want a monitor that's going to fatigue your ears. I actually think that getting a great mix happens at extremely low levels, which is kind of crazy because these could qualify as a small PA system. I mean, the SPL that they can put out is monstrous. So yeah, if you're listening at 105 dB all day long, you're going to get fatigued no matter what you listen to. But because these things are so distortion-free and so clean, I think you're doing something wrong if you're going to have ear fatigue with these. Now, if I was listening to a white cone in a black box, yeah, I'd be fatigued. I think anybody would. But I think that's one of the near miraculous things about these is they are so effortless, especially from the mid-range on up. It's just, they're extremely clean. They just tell me things at the tiniest level of detail that I've never heard anywhere else. I kind of did like a blog format about my experience with auditioning all these high-end monitors. And like I said, imaging is a big thing, that pinpoint focus, but I think time alignment is part of that. I think that also plays into why they don't fatigue your ears, because everything I've noticed with all Atom stuff, it all sounds like it's hitting me at the exact same time. I hate to use the cliche that all of a sudden it sounds like a blanket was taken off my speakers, but truly that's what it was like for me. I was like, okay, now I can really hear into the deepest parts of my mix, to where, maybe it sounds silly, but I can stick my head inside and hear it holographically. And it's all down to that, to the tweeter technology. It just, nothing else had done that for me. I've never heard it anywhere else. And the S3H just takes that to the nth degree. So there's a million things about them that I absolutely love, but they are incredibly crucial tools for me. Atom's stuff has always been like that. These are just, the pinnacle of that evolution.